What would you do differently if you stopped treating failure as the most likely outcome? Welcome to Sobriety Snippets for Women Over 40, where we elevate our mindset and trade hangovers for higher consciousness, one powerful snippet at a time. I'm Becca Jacobson, and you have landed midweek in Snippet Land. Today, I've got three quotes for you from three different thinkers that all point in the same direction. And the topic they point towards is designing a future self identity that makes it virtually impossible to fail. What? I know. So, okay, this is really awesome stuff. But first of all, welcome to Snippet Land. I'm Becca Jacobson, and today is the 10th of June. It's a Wednesday, and tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, I am teaching a live class called How to Know If You're Ready to Quit Drinking. How do you know if you even want to quit drinking? That's what we're going to talk about tonight, live, 7 p.m. on Zoom. If you can't make it live, sign up anyway, and I'll send you the replay. The link to join me tonight is right here in the show notes. Tap that link, get your private link to join. You'll get reminders, replays, and you'll be styling. Looking forward to seeing you tonight. Okay, gals, three thinkers we're going to look at. We're going to tie them all together. It's going to be awesome. The first one is a beautiful woman named Dorothea Brande. Dorothea Brande. That's Brand with a D. Dorothea published a book in 1936 called Wake Up and Live. I know, right? Isn't that the best title ever? Wake Up and Live is the title of this book. Now, we've never done this book as an actual book study on the show, but we have talked a little bit about her main premise before. We're going to revisit that today. Her main premise, her most famous quote in this book is act as though it were impossible to fail. Act as though it were impossible to fail. Listen, gals, most of us approach sobriety as though failure is the most likely outcome. And if not failure, at least misery, right? We've been talking about this quite a bit in recent weeks. Oh my God, this is so going to suck. I have to give up alcohol and it's just going to suck. I'm just not going to enjoy this at all. How do I do it? Everything in front of me looks grim and boring and dull because I won't have alcohol in my life, which of course means you're going to fail. That's how we kind of look at this. And as I've been mentioning in recent weeks, how in the heck are we supposed to succeed with a goal like that? A goal that says, oh, I got to do this thing, even though it's just totally going to suck. We're not. We're not. So we're going to change that attitude. Now, I just love the idea of acting as though it were impossible to fail. This is incredibly powerful. This is future self psychology. This works. Now, there's a few things about it that might be bugging you. What about the fact that you're essentially lying to yourself? I mean, you are, if you do have a lot of fear of failure, then it's going to be kind of hard to act as though it were impossible to fail, but it can be done. And it is not lying. We're going to talk about why in a moment here. But Ms. Brand in this I love the title of this book. In this book, Wake Up and Live, is essentially saying, just decide you're going to succeed. That's it. Just decide you're going to succeed. And I couldn't agree with her more. And I've actually proven this in my own life. We'll talk more about that in a second. But I want to give you another quote from a different thinker who essentially says the same thing. And he's writing almost 100 years later. He's a contemporary. His name's Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He wrote a book called Be Your Future Self Now. Be Your Future Self Now. Now, I'm not going to pull a quote out of that book. The title of the book itself speaks volumes. He's saying in that book, decide who you want to be in the future and don't wait to be her. Figure out who she is and then be her now. Well, that's very similar to what Brand is saying. Brand is saying, decide that the end is going to be successful and then behave now, today, as though I'm going to succeed. I've already decided. The end is already figured out. Two different ways of saying the same idea. And here's a third. I have a third thinker for you. Now, I'm not entirely sure who I want to give credit to on this one because this idea shows up in several different places that I've been studying in recent years. But I will say it's a pretty strong thread running through Neville Goddard's work. But here's the idea. And that is this: go to the end and stay there. Go to the end and stay there. One of the things that Goddard says when he teaches that philosophy is this: he uses the metaphor of going to the movie in the afternoon. So you go to the theater and you walk in, lo and behold, you go to the movie and you arrive late and you get there just in time to see the happy ending. So there you are sitting in the theater, and there's the hero, and all the music is playing, and everybody's celebrating. He's kissing the heroine, and the two of them are together, and they're going to go walk off into the sunset and live happily ever after. And it's all worked out beautifully. And that's the end of the movie. And you get up and you think, well, geez, I wonder what happened. So you decide to stay and watch the movie from the beginning. Well, the whole time you're sitting there watching that movie, it's exciting. The hero gets thrown in the dungeon and he's almost killed several times, and the bad guys are winning for quite a while, and the heroine is being held captive. And it's very exciting movie. But the whole time you're watching it, you know how it ends. You're like, I don't know how they're going to get from here to there, but I know that this movie ends with them in each other's arms and living happily ever after. I know that because I've seen it. So I'll just enjoy the show while it's happening. You just go along with the show, knowing in the back of your mind, it's all right. It's okay. Right now, it doesn't look like things are going very well. You know, there's crocodiles in the dungeon and the hero is going to get eaten. But you know in your heart that's going to work out in the end. My dears, that's how we can live our lives. Life will always be messy. We talk about that a lot here, right? Life will be life. Life will always be life. Nobody is going to come along and teach you how to have an uneventful life, a life that doesn't have struggle, heartbreak, disappointment, hopefully one that also has joy and love and creativity. But life will be life. So it isn't about creating a life that has no conflict, no stress, no challenges. It's about deciding in advance that no matter what happens, it's all going to work out in the end for you. In the end, you're going to ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after because you've gone to the end and you've seen that end, and you choose to remember that end when the going gets tough. Now, that's sort of the Goddard version. The Brande version of this is very similar. She says, act as though it were impossible to fail. You make up your mind in advance, I'm doing this. I want to know what it's like to live alcohol-free, happy and contented and healthy. Not struggling, but happy, contented, and healthy. And so you sit down and you imagine that and you write it in your journal and you put it all together and you create this version of you who is there, living alcohol-free, contented, happy, healthy, right? Then you put down your pen, close the journal, get up, and act as though it were impossible to fail. Why? Because you've gone to the end and you know what the end looks like. And then, of course, the third quote, let's tie it in. These are all coming together beautifully. That third quote from Ben Hardy is, be your future self now. So you've gone to your journal, you've written out the description of her and what her life looks like and what she feels like, and then you come back and you be her today. You don't wait. We don't wait to be the version of ourselves we want to be in the future. We do our best today. Now, when we do this, it's difficult. The first thing that happens is very quickly, first of all, we forget. Within a few minutes even, we default back to our reaction to life and we start reacting the same as we always have, and nothing seems to have changed. So in the early days of practicing this, you're failing a lot. And the key is to remember to do it, which is really hard when you're doing it alone. When you do this in a group and you're being guided and mentored, that's when it becomes powerful, because there's always somebody there to remind you, wait a minute, remember what the end looks like? Remember your future self, what she looks like, and you've got a name for her and you've decided who she is. You're acting as though it's impossible to fail because you've gone to the end and you've decided to stay there. And now you're simply living the journey in between, knowing full well how the story ends. Isn't that an exciting way to live life? I think it is. Listen, gals, this chapter of our lives is about adventure. And by adventure, I don't mean going off and sailing away into the horizon. I don't mean that kind of adventure. I mean exploring the possibilities inside of ourselves. How happy can I be? How free can I be? What can I do today with my mindset or my emotions or my reactions to life that's just slightly different? Can I behave differently? What's possible for me? How far can I go? How much growing can I do? That's what I mean by the adventure. And it is exciting once you start doing it and you start getting used to it and you start remembering and you start growing and it starts getting some traction and life becomes so exciting. And you wake up in the morning and go, okay, today the game is on. I am going to see if I can show up as my future self now. And the amazing thing is, by the way, hint, hint, here's a little bit of a spoiler alert, gals. We actually never reach the end. That end version of ourselves is always ahead of us. Why? Because we're not likely to end up saints, are we? We're not likely to go, I've arrived. I am now perfect. Yay. Well, I mean, I haven't, certainly hasn't happened to me, and I don't know anyone else that it has. So that means that this adventure just keeps going and going and going. And you do reach a version of yourself that you imagine, but by the time you get there, you've already upgraded her to another version. Gals, this is an incredibly exciting way to live your life. Talk about not being boring, not living your life on autopilot. This is the opposite of that. And this is how we do it. It's so much fun. And this is what I help women to do. I show them how to create a version of themselves that they're excited about and then live each day. Let life be life. Show up, respond to it instead of reacting to it, knowing that they've decided to wake up and live. They've decided to go to the end and stay there. They've decided to act as though it were impossible to fail. They've decided to be their future selves now. And that, my dears, is how we build the best damn chapter of our lives. This one, we are in the last chapter of our lives. We all agree on that, pretty much. We've done the early chapter, the middle chapter. Now we're in this last chapter. And my gals here in Snippet Land, my goal for all of us is to make it the best chapter of our lives. And this is one of the many ways that we do it. Thank you for popping in today. Remember, 7 p.m. tonight, I'm teaching a live class called How Do I Even Know If I Want to Quit Drinking? It's actually a tough question because for many of us, we're like, of course I have to quit. Yeah, but what about that other voice? No, I don't want to quit. We're going to talk about that. And I'm going to help you see clarity around that very uncomfortable dichotomy. Go to the show notes, tap the link, sign up. We'll send you the Zoom link, and I'll see you there at 7 p.m. Eastern. Today, June 10th, 2026. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back next time so I can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.